I'm a squire, I've got nothing to say.
Lords of the Dance, Xpert TV.
Good evening, welcome. You've returned to us once again. Can you believe it? We are back talking about the Lords. There's so much shit to cover tonight. Like, not just in regards of the league itself, but just like what has happened. Why are we here in 2017 doing this still? It's shocking, but we're there and we're loving it. T-Paul, why don't you just run us through what the hell we're going to be talking about?
Well, as you point out, we've got a lot to cover. I don't know when the last time we did one of these was actually, but
a while ago.
Yeah.
I think we've done a couple, but it's gone on unpublished, and they've just been food for thought. You know, in like a car journey for me here and there, just just keeping me motivated.
Yeah, well, every little helps.
Yeah,
I suppose I can't blame you because look where it's landed you.
True.
There's can't criticise your methods. But no, I think today what we're going to cover. I think we're just going to basically cover the season. Obviously, season 23 that's just drawn to a close.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking
the change report happened a couple of days ago.
I was just going to say thank fuck that season's finally over.
Oh god! When did we started this in November?
Oh, I don't know.
Early December.
I feel like
I think it was late November the season started.
I feel like I've always been playing this season. I don't know any other Lord's season apart from this season. I need.
29th of November was our first game. That was we started 2 months before the end of 2016.
It's been a long time.
We're 3 months into 2017.
And
5 months, bro.
And I'll tell you what. And when your team's not very good, it feels a lot longer.
He's a vegetarian.
I'll give you that. I'll tell you that. So, we're going to discuss how the season ended, obviously, and then I think we're going to do a little team by team breakdown, kind of just go through because we've obviously got 13 teams in the Lords this season, and with it being 24 games. Everyone in their own way kind of did have their own little story, their own journey this season. So I think we're going to kind of just break down at least our opinions.
Yeah, and I'd like to focus in on a select few, to say the least.
I dare say you'll have words, and you'll get to voice them. But then after that we're going to kind of start to look ahead where that leaves each individual team, and then I think we're going to kind of take another step back and kind of look at the league as a whole. Maybe talk to Squires and some of the lower divisions, how next season's going to look structurally, and kind of
which I think is important. It does need to be covered, not just for everyone's sake of knowledge, but also because Squires doesn't get much attention in the Lords group, and overall, if you're a Squire, you keep your head down and you just do the work. But an end of season and one that's so significant now is worth touching base with. Even some of the teams that are going to be in the Squires, and then the subsequent. The new infrastructure of the league. This is important.
Well, no, the season we've had and the times we're in, I think a good old proper podcast is deserved.
I feel like we're ready. Well, why don't we bring up the overview? Look, I know we can see that. So it was a big season. It was 24 games, and we had the cup matches come in. Was it 3 or 4 fixtures into the season?
I think 3 or 4. Yeah, because obviously there were so many teams. There weren't actually that many buys this.
So some teams played in excess of 30 games this season.
Yeah, I played 32.
32 games. See, I was very lucky. I got out of the cup in the quarters, and it wasn't actually. Was I in quarters or semis? Did I lose to Graham in the semis, and he went on to lose to win the final?
I barely pay attention to the cup when I'm still in it.
Ben won the final. Yeah, fucking hell, Ben won the final. He beat Graham in the final, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I know that much. Yeah.
That's how. Yeah.
Ben finally got that silverware for himself. So, yeah. Congrats.
Congrats to him.
In all honesty, that sounds a bit sarcastic. Actual congrats to him.
No, yeah, for sure. Like we've talked about this. Like Ben was one of those undercurrent teams who. He was doing business, and he wasn't exactly keeping it quiet, but no one listened except us, I feel. But nonetheless, congratulations to him.
And we'll get into it in more detail, but I still think one signing away potentially. He makes 1 or 2 good signings this season. He could be in contention next year, man. We'll see.
Yeah. So with that many games in mind, and I'm gonna just come out and say I called it, bro. I called it. I won the league. Like just give me it. Give me the fucking cup. I'm ready to receive it. I worked hard this season. It was scary, man. There were points where I was like, I cannot let Graham win the treble. And sometimes it was out of my hands. And just for whatever reason. Sometimes it worked, most of the time I had to win and I maintained a really good record. But he was right up my fucking trumpet. Everyone was up my trumpet.
Well, yeah, I mean, because when did you take the lead? Because it was probably 6 games to go. You kind of took it.
Yeah, there was 8 games. I was top for 3 rounds and then I dropped one. Let's bring up the diagram. Yeah, because let's focus in.
Alright, so who are the teams we want to see? I guess the top 8 teams probably.
Top 8 teams. So we want the Burkers, the Thousands, the Milkers, the Bilbo, the Dream, the Dicks, the Slays, and the Happy Feet. Oh my god.
So yeah, so as well.
So I'm black. Look, I took in after the 11th fixture, I held it for 3 games, and then Graham took it for 3 days. I came back for 1, and then the fucking Bilbo slipped in.
I mean, you were swanning around as low as sort of 3rd and 4th with kind of like 8 rounds left.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of started to skyrocket. I think one team who's probably really disappointed with the season is probably Norman. He was definitely at a point where I kind of thought he was going to win, really.
I thought he had the strongest team, really, and had the best form at the time and was getting results. It seemed like he had the momentum.
Yeah, and it's a shame for him as well, because that team, I mean, don't get me wrong, they'll be strong next season, but that window is starting to close, I think. Those players and his average age and the way that's all going to start to play a factor. He's got a lot of players in a similar kind of age bracket.
Mm-hmm. He might have to do a bit. If he's smart, he could put in maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 key signings or switches and sells. Like, he just needs to be a bit cued in on the transfer market, and I think he can revolutionise his team.
Potentially, I mean, if I were him, I think there's always also an argument just for staying with what he's got, trying to win the league for the next couple of seasons, and then just go on full on rebuild. But whatever he chooses to do, I think he'll probably be disappointed just with the position he was in and how that season kind of ended. I think again the guy who probably deserves a lot of credit is Harsh.
He's overachieved for sure.
Once again,
he shouldn't have becoming second in a season like this where it's arduous, but generally managers who are a bit more on it and a bit more throwing their mind into their tactics and not like just rinsing and repeating. I'm not saying that anyone did do that, but I'm saying that those who actively don't do that generally should come out top.
Well, I think the thing is, what's impressive about what Harsh did, I mean, is that the guy only lost 3 games, which was less than you, who won the league. And he's got a good goalie, obviously, but it's a 23-year-old. He's a 12 skill. It's not the strongest goalie in the league.
Yeah, he's reliant on his average age being popped up. And
I think the thing that Harsh probably had in his favour is, he's got Van Volsen, who's
he's godlike.
Yeah, that beast that you need. The keeper's strong enough, but then he's also all those players, and this is the thing, next season's going to be even tougher because those guys are now like 10, 11 skills, but they're all kind of, he didn't have any like 4 skills, any 5 skills, any really young guys weighing him down. But I still think
the average skill of his youth was higher than normal, which usually helps top up.
Yeah,
but you just got to look at the team output average.
Yeah,
and you'll see that like generally he wasn't putting out that excellent a squad every time.
Well, no,
his best match average he was 10th. Like he was putting out on an average 11.
Which again begs the question like what's going on. I mean, is it purely tactics? Because again, I think Harsh is someone who for the most part kind of stands by. I don't know if you'd agree, but he tends to have a kind of solid sort of way that he's going to play.
Yeah, he always has a mindset in terms of his team.
Yeah, he's not that reactive. He's more thinking about what he's doing, which to be honest is something I'm probably more like myself. I think, but you see a lot of.
Well, now you are. I think you're a bit more able to have your own model framework.
I think the thing is,
I don't
know. The way I kind of look at tactics sometimes, I think is if you get too worked up and trying to outthink the other person, you almost just start going around in circles, and you don't actually really end up. You almost kind of counter, and it gets too complex. I think sometimes the best thing to do is to think about what's best for your team, what can you control, and just to go out and do that. And at the end of the day, hope that kind of match up for the best.
Yeah, I mean, everyone this season experienced an Xpert, like me included. When I played Muriel, I lost to him at home, and then I drew away. I lost to him, and I set like not like bad tactics, like a good formation. I maybe shouldn't have gone very offensive, but nonetheless, the point was they weren't bad tactics. I was at home, I had good form, and then my form got shot, and he beat me 3-0. We all experienced it, so I'm sure a lot of managers out there can agree that the game engine's changed to the point where we've got a bit more working out to do. And so at the moment, if you're overthinking things, then you could be applying false knowledge. You could also be not countering a counter because you haven't really played the meta game of thinking about how your opponent approaches team. Which brings us back to Harsh. You know, he's one of those people who is less reactive and he has his own model, and I think that's benefited him in the long run, particularly with a team that's slightly underwhelming.
Well, I mean,
it's valuable, but underwhelming in strength.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, this season they're looking, obviously better. They had decent change, but yeah, I think you just got to take.
He had a decent change by his own admittance.
And he scored 47 goals. I mean, considerably more than anyone else. You know, I think who was next? I think Norman had 36.
Yeah, and I had 33.
So you know, I mean, obviously Ed was a big part of that, but.
And Norman himself.
Yeah. But still, you know, credit where credit's due. And Graham, unfortunately, in some ways, couldn't pull off the triple. It's still to be done. It has not been
revel in it.
I don't know if I feel like that might be the last chance for a little while.
You reckon he's going to slip?
No, as in
this is the break.
Someone to do the triple. I don't know. I don't see that happening again anytime soon.
At least not maybe. I don't think I'll set myself up. Or at least I'm not planning to, insofar as I'm gunning for it. Blah blah blah. We'll talk about that in a minute. But ultimately, the point is now with a change of structure. You know, we have shorter seasons, and we're going to have winners. It's going to be a new dynamic feel. So we can't rely on let's say the best teams.
I mean, Graham's team's still going to be having something to say next season. He's still got some really, really good players. I mean, Ahern probably, or Ahern.
Colin Ahern is he is.
He's legit.
I see him being MVP next season.
He's going to get man-marked a lot, but then he's got Charlo next to him to support. So
and Pinto will carry on, no problem. Santana's going to be back up.
And the crazy, none of the guys have announced retirement.
Yeah, I mean, he's got very lucky.
And what's impressive, again, Pinto's still a 14 skill, and again, as someone who's had players of that age and that kind of strength in my team, you know, I played a fuckload out of Judah, and I got him to 7 DV was the best I could do when he played 32 games.
Yeah.
And he went down. He's now a 12 skill. It is. I appreciate it's hard to maintain that kind of strength at that age. Solid keeper. Yeah, I think he's. But at the same time, Pinto and Santana have got worse, and I don't know if he's. I think last season he was in better chance to win, and he is better position than he is now. I don't know if you agree.
No, I agree. This change report's been good to him. His team looks a lot more balanced than it was, let's say, 4 or 5 seasons ago. He's now reaping the rewards of the changes he made. But
do you think next season he's got a better chance, or as good a chance as he? I'm saying that I think the season just gone, he had a better chance, but he had a better squad than the season he's got now.
Oh, so his chances are slightly slimmer now.
I think so. I think the way that everyone else has kind of got better, and you see a couple of his guys, and particularly in defence, is looking slightly thin. I mean, he's still got the thing as well.
That's his only weak area. I'd say he could, and it's only we say that, but he's got 2 13 skills and a 13 skill in goal, and they're prime age. Particularly, you know, his average age is balanced well.
I guess I'm just saying thin in terms of an injury would create difficulty. But
true,
you could say that for a lot. I mean,
he could do with an all rounder who's above 32 and can slip in there. But Peltonen and Menino are only one wave behind Immermouth and Morris Owens. You know, they're literally just behind them.
It's going to be devastating. But the other thing Graham's got going for him is he's got 2 strong forwards. And then I think again that being able to score goals in the Lords is critical. And I think having 2 of your 3 forwards being sort of the age strength is important.
And probably not getting man marked.
Yeah. So no, maybe I'll retract my statement slightly, but I think there are other teams that are more dynamic that have those kind of 22 to 24-year-old kind of players, like Harsh's team has kind of demonstrated. That seems to be almost peak at the moment. That seems to be when
on fleek.
I don't know. It seems to be when people start taking it to the next level when they hit that age. But if we move down the table, Dreams and the Dicks.
Oh, from the end of the season, yep. You've got the Dreams and the Dicks who actually didn't have much to do with each other. It was mainly that Simon slipped away mid-season and then was kind of sat in his own little realm whilst the Dream was flicking in between 2nd, 3rd, 4th and was unfortunately the one who came out bottom of the pile.
Well, I think the thing is, something has to be said about Simon's. I mean, is it fair to call it a collapse? If you think about if I can spin up the graph
it's a crumble if I've ever seen one. If I've ever tasted some apple crumble, it came out of the Dick's fucking oven.
I mean, to be fair, all I would say is, so he was. What thing is against him is that he was top of the league for fair bit, and it was about almost halfway that he lost it. But he spent about 7 out of the first 10 weeks at the top of the table.
Mm-hmm.
But then,
I say, you see him in 6th for bar 2 games for the rest of the season. He was in his own little world.
Well, yeah, because essentially he had a collapse. It was just that round 10 to round 14. Those 4 weeks he dropped from 1st to 6th, and then he just hung around at 6th. He dipped down to 7th at one point, but that was what he did. Yeah, he was off. It was a weird season,
full of crumble.
I bet he crumbled early, so I don't know if it's the same.
But you look at the rest of the teams and how they did and worked out who crumbled there.
I mean, to me, you could argue Norman.
No, not to me. Like, he worked hard at the start of the season. He dropped to 11th, and then got up to 3rd, and then dipped for a couple of rounds. Then he got back, and he was just a bit up and down. You can't call that a crumble.
Maybe he just peaked.
He was just inconsistent.
Maybe he just peaked slightly too early.
Peaked slightly early, missed a couple of key games for tactics. Lost some serious form, I imagine, and worked his way back. If anything, it was the fucking dream team, the actual namesake. It was the Brooksy, the classic Brooksy crumble.
He was mincing it
has it struck again?
In second. I remember there was a time I was thinking Pete needs a result, and then to take attention. Well, it didn't come, but then other results went. So I thought, okay, he's still in with a chance, but he has to get results.
I suppose that's why we thought he was always in the mix. He was always 1 or 2 points behind, but just couldn't do anything about it.
I mean, I just think he didn't get the results he needed to at the end of the season. There was that little period around sort of the start of February, I think. And he only managed to get a draw against me. He then lost to Norman, lost to you, beat Muriel, but then could only pick up a draw against Harsh. And by that point, he needed to get some wins from those games.
And he got So in his last 10 games, he got 2 wins.
Yeah, and then
it's not strong enough.
And then again, he was still kind of in position. And had he beaten Larry and Ben, maybe he would have had another 4 points, so he would have come 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
But again, draws against Larry was not. It was.
Well, the thing is, his last 4 games were fairly easy. He had Slaves, Thousand Sons, Dicks, and Happy Feet. Yeah. In a vacuum, that's a nice way to finish.
I'm mistaken because Larry's is a friendly. He got the draws that slipped him up with the ones against Ben and the one against Harsh.
Well, that's what I mean. Down from Ben to me, those last 4 games in a vacuum, that's a great set of fixtures to finish with, and he only picked up 6 out of available 12. 8 out of available 12, which is, although not 4 shy, that's 4 shy that cost him positions.
Yeah, I think people most likely will be looking at other games points dropped. He did drop points to Larry early in the season. He wasn't able to beat Steve, although not many teams were, apart from Larry at the end to stay up. But he, I think, Pete's had a good change. I think this season actually he did surprise a few people. Mm-hmm. I personally didn't expect him to do to be what he's closer to Norman and you guys than he is to Simon technically on the table.
Yeah, but he's just always been there. That's the thing.
That's
why I meant he's in his own little.
Next season, man, that squad. If you look, I mean, he's got a couple of little U's coming up.
Yeah, he should be happy with Westcroft, and Benny Hedges is again a monster.
Yeah, Benny Hedges
probably will be the next Petrelli.
Yeah, I think more so than Van Volsen will be. Although Van Volsen still seems to be more effective, but I don't know if that's just
probably the age difference.
Harsh magic. I don't know. 2 years. But yeah, if we keep moving down, so the next
probably the Slaves have to be spoken about at some point.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think afterwards we've got to talk about that kind of battle really that took place between Muriel, Ben, Larry, and myself.
Excuse me.
We all finished, 3 of us finished on 31 points. I think again Muriel was first season up. I think he definitely probably had a few growing pains. Probably had a few kind of newbie kind of hits he took through the season, but he held in there.
Yeah, he was the opposite to what Steve did. They lost pretty much the same amount of games, but he got wins where Steve got draws. Irrelevant of what point they were at the season, he cashed in on some very key wins.
Always seemed to be going for it, which again, in some way I think was a little inexperience, but also I think in some ends actually
it got him 34 goals.
It benefited him. You know what I mean? I think almost like the fact sometimes you see the new guy almost doesn't know, and that almost kind of helps him I think Mura had a bit of that going for him, and he definitely deserved to stay up. I think it would have been a travesty if somehow I couldn't believe it when I beat him and I looked at the results going into that last round, and I was somehow 7th. I was like, this is mental. It would have been a travesty had Mura gone down. He had a great season, and I think again good change report. I'm a little scared of him.
I think now
he's got a season under his belt.
Now all he's got to work on is himself as a manager because he's got the team. He's got that part of the Xpert
and that team as well. And I still think it's something to be said. Has played like in the digital world. Has played a Lord season together, and that compatibility and that
everything has got better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone should start taking note of that.
And then you can say the same thing about Ben.
For sure.
I think he's got a nice little team.
Yeah, just a mediocre season, and I don't mean that in like a negative. Like I mean it quite literally like a medium season. Came 8th out of 13, won 8, drew 7, lost 9. Like it's just a very average season. Which is fine for him.
He's still like a season or two.
He won the cup.
Yeah, he won the cup. You know what I mean? He's starting to break through, and I think next season, if he can continue along his trajectory, you'll start to see him kind of start to knocking out the door that sort of top 4 that's existed the last couple of seasons. Those sort of 22. I mean, it's a shame to see some of the 22-9s in there, but they will get stronger, and as they get stronger, the stronger players will too. I think.
Well, again, he's one of a good handful of teams who've got a consistent amount of 14 skills now.
Yeah, I mean that defence is going to be tough to score against anyone next season.
Yeah,
and he's got 3 guys. I mean, what he's going to find difficult is keeping all their form up and getting them all game time. I must think that the 34-year-old who's announced retirement isn't going to play very much.
Yeah, I mean you'd hope so.
But yeah, he's got some good depth there, and again, I think his age he'll be able to balance that quite well. And I think he's going to look for him to make some noise. Larry.
Your second favourite team in the league?
Yeah.
What are you got to say about it?
Well, he stayed up, didn't he?
He did. He stayed up. Look at his team. Even after a change report, it's still pretty meh. He's now got Steve's team that Steve had like 2 seasons ago.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like there's some talent there. I mean, Larry Elliott, Laslan the Brave. I mean, all the Larrys. But he seems to come through his youth academy, and again
a full squad of Larrys is what you want to see.
And as much as anyone can, we've had the conversations before. I'm not sure if we've done it if it was on the podcast or not, but about certain teams getting used through and how much that's actually helped. Just them financially, help them in terms of
Slave's been one of them.
There are certain teams that have had a use through that have definitely really rapidly boosted or sped up their progression.
Whether it be econ or just team.
Yeah, and you look at Larry's team, but at the same time, to be fair to all those managers, they haven't cocked it up. You're not, it's not like those players that have come through. There were certain players. I mean, who's the player that used to play for Window-Lickers as well? Elliot Holt, I think. Was 17-6.
Great player.
What happened to him?
I think he's still kicking it out.
He's not a 17-6. Like if you would be. I'm pretty sure he's not a 17-6 caliber anymore.
Let's have a look.
It's 29-13.
He's a 29-13
from a 17-6.
So he's got a 7 in
12. But it
makes me a bit ill.
Well, we weren't going to talk about the Squires until the end anyway. But again, Larry, he was nowhere.
He's pulled it out of the fucking bag.
He was absolutely nowhere.
I mean, everyone's loving it for him, and I'm happy for him. I genuinely am. I'm happy that he gets to experience that joy. Because imagine if you were in that boot and you continually just fucking did it. It's just like fucking yes. I'm kudos to him, and he really.
Yeah, there must be part of him. I'm sure there must be part of him now that believes he can't get relegated.
Yeah, or for sure. Would you? I'd be shouting from the rooftops.
There's a big part of me that believes that.
I don't think he can get relegated. He's like the anti-relegation.
I just don't know. Again, some.
Do you think he'll ever win anything?
No. No. But he's not going to go down either.
He refuses to go down.
At what point do you start to say, well, he can't go down?
But if he doesn't go down next season, I'm gonna start questioning shit.
Yeah, because I mean, this the next season.
I'm gonna think. I mean, honestly, Harsh must be saying his tactics or something.
But even then, maybe. But even then, nah. I don't know, because the way that he struggled all season, and then just at the end, and then he started winning games.
He just picks up momentum
like
out of a random game.
6 hours to go. He was nowhere, and then he wins a game, and I'm like, okay, wins another one. I'm like, right. And I'm still miles in front. I've got goal difference ahead of me. It makes sense. And then I have a tough result to Carl, where again it was a bit of a fucking expert fuck there. I had a player get injured, and I think I conceded 3 goals in the last 10 minutes.
As soon as you get a full injury early doors.
Well, no, it was a bit like, okay, I don't know how I've lost 3-0, but that happened, and then he also beat Ed 5-0 away, and suddenly I didn't have the goal difference anymore, and then I had some tough games, and he had just shit to play. Basically, he was playing all against the other teams. Most of
you played all the top 4 in your last.
Yeah,
5.
and he was playing, and he had to play the last 2 against all the bottom teams. Like, so it was all in his favour, and I still, despite that, I managed to beat. I pulled out wins.
You beat Norman.
I beat Norman.
You beat
I
Graham.
beat Graham.
Like that contributed heavily towards my win.
And then I came against Harsh at the end, just needing a draw. I lost once at home all season. I just come out. I played quite defensive tactics. To it's all looking fine, and then 92nd minute goal. Like, you know what I mean? That sends me down.
He's a vegetarian.
And meanwhile, Larry beats Steve, and Steve himself had only lost like once at home all season, or twice potentially. So
he did it. He fucking did it.
Like Steve was not conceding all season, and yeah, it's just all the stars on. As I said, I can't even be mad at it because it's just so crazy and crazy. Yeah, but and as I said, we will move on to the future shortly, but I think in some ways it could be a blessing in disguise for my team as well. So
Yeah, anyway.
and it was a great season. Yeah, we all battled. Whoever got relegated was going to feel hard done by,
no matter what.
So if we move on to the bottom 3.
Yeah, the juicy part of the meat. we got
the skeggs now. We're just like,
oh shit.
Hell. Go on.
So the Tyrrell's Troops, the the alliterative team they call them. Aside from some debatable transfer market activity as of late, they're a team who've got a good team.
Yeah.
They've got a good team, and they ended 11th.
I was a little disappointed until.
Yeah, I thought they were going to. I thought that they didn't have the season that the Slaves.
I don't get me wrong. I don't feel like they should be done a whole lot better, but I feel like they should have been in that fight with myself, Larry, and
Ben,
and those guys. But it was probably again. I think Carl was still again like me all adjusting to the Lord.
I think as soon as he becomes a bit more open to different ideas about tactic setting and team formations and like maybe just being a bit more eager to discover more about his capabilities, it will open up a whole new window for him.
I think Carl is interested in getting better. And
I'm not saying he's not.
Good,
I just said
good.
I mean more like just a completely a more active approach, I guess. Cause it's all a bit, he does his own thing and it's through his own kind of learnings. But ultimately, the only way to improve this game is to talk about it with people and to
What was Carl's change report like actually?
I actually haven't looked, so it might be worth having a little flutter. I mean, that's not a bad team, is it?
No, not at all.
That could contend for like fighting relegation in the Lords next season.
I mean, I'm looking at. I mean, I've got to think that would be probably one of my competitors in the Squires.
He's a vegetarian.
If I'm Carl, I think you've got to be thinking kind of a little into the future what you're going to be doing 3 or 4 seasons down the line, because again you've got a lot of players in a similar age bracket. But I mean, again, I said I think he underachieved slightly this season. Slightly, not. I think we were going to give out grades, which we'll do as we kind of just to cap off this segment. But if we just finish off with Steve and Ed rounding out.
Well, let's each one separately, because one in particular deserves some kind of fucking examination. And let's start off with Steve. He lost 10 games and drew 11. Like if you in a 24 game season, only winning 3 games is massive. You're always going to be fighting it, an uphill struggle. But it was nice to see him and Carl have a little dip and dab. There was some words exchanged, and they had their own.
I can't tell how much of it's banter, how much actually is there something going on. I don't know if I like just that idea that there actually is a bit of rivalry between.
Oh, for sure. I think that's important.
Troops.
Particularly for like the Lord's football game. You need those little rivalries, like yeah.
And for just when you're playing, like, I think we all kind of have teams that we kind of measure ourselves against. Probably, I think. Maybe it's just us. I don't know, but
no, I think if you rate yourself as a manager, you should be doing that. And yeah, they like to square off. So they had a nice little tussle. That was fun to watch. And unfortunately, Steve ended up on the bottom end, but he's still, his change report was okay. I think that's why he's intending on going, because it wasn't the best. He wants to give himself a new opportunity, a fresh start of a fresh season. You can't ever berate a man.
Well, and he's in that state. I think he's making the right decision, really, because he's at that point where his players are still worth something.
Yeah,
and they'll be worth something to people in the league on the market.
He's got valuable players, and I'd agree. I could get that team. Yeah. You could make some real money there.
Yeah, but that being said, he's not got a team that's going to win the Lords. So if you're not going to win the Lords, what's the point? You might as well start rebuilding and trying to
get rid of your 24 keeper.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think I think a big part of this game, and that having played so many seasons now, is almost having to see that cycle and kind of think, well, realistically, my guys aren't going to be strong enough to contend with that team this season. So it makes, I think, a big mistake you do is go when you try, because trying to win the league.
When you try it with an underskilled team.
Yeah, and anyone that's been in the league contention, when you're putting on win bonus, when you're trading, when you're doing everything you can to win games, it really is costly, and it takes a lot out of you. So I think one of the worst things you can do is when you're trying to do that needlessly. So I think Steve's doing the right thing. He's saying that like that's what I'm doing with my team. We're not going to compete at the moment for the foreseeable future. So let's just concentrate on rebuilding, concentrate on the youth, and as I said, looking at certain teams peak while other teams are dip, and you just want to make sure you're peaking as other people are dipping. I think there's something to be said for kind of looking at that long-term trajectories of different teams.
It comes down to tracking each other teams' actual trajectory through the season and being cognizant of that while setting tactics. So,
yeah, to an extent. We're getting to such a point now after playing for so long. We could go on all day, but then shall we finish?
Quite haphazardly stumble upon the Borussia Dortmund, 13 out of 13 in the Lords. You just got to stand up and say that they had a fucking awful season, like near on diabolical. With a team they got.
You know what I feel like Ed's problem was? He didn't seem to come into the season with a plan. He didn't seem to know what he wanted to do. His team didn't seem to have an identity, or kind of like Steve. You knew Steve came in and said, we're going to play very defensive. We're not going to concede. We're going to try and get some draws and sneak some wins, and that's going to be our mode of trying to be competitive. I feel like Ed didn't really know what he was trying to do. And then halfway through the season, I think he kind of clocked that actually this isn't working, and he blew it all up. So really, again, you've got to take the final, minus 53 goal difference, 6 points from 24 games. Because there was a point in the season where he just blew it up. Like he did it. He did his rebuild halfway through the season. Yeah. So I think, but he kind of backed himself.
Well, that's it. Like when you say he didn't have a plan, it wasn't like what's different about him and Steve is Steve had a team to have a plan with. Whilst Ed didn't. He didn't have the ability to go. Oh well, I can play really defensive because he didn't have strong enough players in key areas, or at least not enough of them. So when he did his gut and his rebuild, it was maybe it was a foregone conclusion.
I mean, his team's looking alright now. He needs to flesh it out a little bit, but
he needs to. He's got some to sell pieces. One of those 1960s.
We'll get through that in a second. But he's got pieces. We can agree on that. But all in all, season I thought it was, said it was competitive. It was interesting. It was long, and now it's over. So.
And who fucking won it?
Well, let's go. So team by team. So we'll start. Shall we start at the top?
I think I can't really say much about here because I had my season. I might dip into what you're.
I was thinking for Burke and Merkage, I think you've got to give you an A.
I think so.
I don't think. I mean, an A plus. I don't think it's warranted because you didn't.
I didn't have the most amount of goals. I didn't have the least amount of goals.
I think at the end of the day, I think an A. You did what you needed to do. You peaked at the right time.
I had the season wrapped up with two games to go.
I think again harsh. Again, I'd give him an A.
He's an A, yeah.
Because
Overachieved, did well, won enough games with the team that he had. It's very reasonable. You got to pat him on the back. He didn't win it. If he'd won it, it would have been
A plus,
for sure.
Yeah.
But he got second. He got good amount of econ out of the season. By his own kind of admittance, it wasn't the best change report, but I still think he's got a team, a lot of value there now. So yeah. Milkers, they ended up in third, but my goodness, didn't they have a right old roller coaster midway through the latter end of the season?
I'm thinking of B.
B minus for me. He should be doing better. I mean, I know it's third. He ended up third. That is good. Top 3. But he at one point he was top of the league for like 5 games straight.
Yeah, but again, but he did have that pressure of going for the triple light, with the treble light.
So much pressure.
Which I think you got to factor that in.
And then there was a sequence of events, like his form dropped when he lost a game, then he lost, like when he drew in the first round of the final, then he lost the final, then he lost to you.
Yeah, he was in a cup final as well. You've got to bear that in mind.
Yeah, he played like a lot. He played like over 30 games.
Okay, Norman,
I'll give him a B.
Okay, so I was thinking B minus for Norman personally. Okay. Like C plus.
Oh no, I wouldn't drop it to C. I'd say that he did well for someone who. I'm thinking about it at some points. I'm
pretty sure he had a couple of rounds where he didn't set tactics.
Yeah, like his commitment was. You could question it at some points, but that's neither here nor there. You just got to take it into account with his season, and the fact that he still ended up with 13 wins and he got the most amount of goals.
Yeah, I suppose you could always counter that. You could say, well, he didn't set tactics for a few games and he's still, you could swing it either way, I suppose. Dream team.
Again, a contender for the crumble.
I give Pete a B. I give Pete a solid B.
For me, it would be a C plus. It would be passable. He came top 5. But I see that as a pile.
But with the exception of Harsh, all of the teams above him had a better squad than he did.
But then you look at his best match average rating, and he's like in the top 3. Like he averaged like 13 this season.
But again, I think that says something with the squad that he had for letting him to do that. Because I don't think he didn't have the best squad. He's had a good change, and his team's looking better now. But last season, you and I were both saying that team's a bit
naff,
bit middle of the road, a bit. It wasn't bad, but it was just what Pete always is, mid-table.
Yeah, a bit. Okay, yeah, I suppose he ended up 5th, got 41 points. He didn't win any money for himself.
Yeah,
but okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and Simon.
Another contender for the Crumble Award.
I'm giving Simon a C.
You're giving him a C.
I'm giving Simon a C.
Yeah, solid C.
Because I think
he won one less game than himself.
You know what the other thing with Simon is that because he crumbled early, but then there was never a recovery, never a revival, never like.
Where did the fight go?
You know what I mean? And then he accepted it. He accepted it.
He rolled over and just took it up the arse.
And fair enough if you're going to do that publicly and say, yeah, fine, I crumbled, whatever. Deflect it how you need to. We all know how Simon loves
That's what
deflection.
we thought he was deflecting, but genuinely he had given up.
Yeah.
Well, not given up, but
his team had
turned off a little bit.
He had nothing come down the end. So yeah, I'm giving Simon a C. Muriel,
I give him a B. For someone who's, like we said, like maybe a little bit noobish when it comes to setting tactics and knowing his opponent, but he's got the team on his side, which he's done. Like,
well, I think also noobish more so for me, just in terms of knowing the Lords, knowing like
that's
why. If you haven't gone through a season of, I mean, and it was certainly another experience for all of us because it's been a while since we've had such an intense long season. But yeah, I think just having that kind of level of competition, game in, game out, and getting used to that. But no, I'd err on giving him a B plus, but no, I think B is probably fair. As we've been grading so far, and I'm going to give a B to Happy Feet as well.
Yeah, same can be said for Ben.
Yeah, I think he's probably in that with that B conversation. Lowry's an interesting one.
I can't. Like, I just put the infinity symbol. He's forever. He'll be a perpetual ungradable.
But it's like his dad is like headmaster of the school or whatever, so he's going to next year. Like, you can't, you know what I mean? He hands in just like a drawing. It's like his final exam.
His final exam.
It's just a drawing of like a middle finger up at you,
but with like 1 mark over a pass. And like he'll be there.
I don't know.
But he has there's been twice where he should have been relegated and wasn't.
I'm going to give Lowry a B again because he stayed up and
C plus for me just because of the team he's got.
But he stayed up.
Yeah, but that doesn't excuse him overall.
All right. Well, again, it's me next. I'll let you grade my season.
He's a vegetarian.
I think, well, you came into it thinking you were going to be here anyway. Maybe I overstated you, but no, I know I've seen your team go up and down, as it were, as it's gone through the season, and so, you know, you did end up getting relegated. You lost that nice spot to Larry, who had I suppose he did have a bit of a worldy end last season. You were just kind of up and down all season. You started off low and just kind of...
You know what I would say, all I would say in my defence, what really hurt me is, we all know my squad this year was made up of youths and old players. I had one key strength player in each position running down like the spine of my team, and I had major injuries to Shaulov, I had minor injuries to Pastore, I had an injury to Giuliano at the end of the season when I needed, to just have that strength on my side.
Mm-hmm.
Giuliano went down. Shaulov was out for a long time. I did have to contend
Shaulov was out for
with injuries, and everyone has injuries. But the injuries I had, and you could also argue, well, that's how your team's set up, which is fair enough as well. But
you knew that going into the season.
Yeah, and it was a gamble that didn't pay off, unfortunately. But despite those injuries, despite only scoring 10 goals, I actually think I am where I thought I am. But if you just said to me before the season, Shallow's going to miss this many games, Giuliano's going to get hurt, all these players are going to get hurt, you're only going to score 10 goals, I wouldn't expect me to have got 31 points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair enough.
So I personally, I'd give myself a B.
Taking that into account, I'll give you a C+. Because I think better of you, so I think you should be doing better. Anyway.
I appreciate your content, but I'm back where I thought I was and against difficult odds, so I'm going to give myself a little pat on the pat.
No, well,
no, that's my consolation for going down.
Till treats.
Don't take it away from me.
Till treats. C-, straight out of the bat. I'm not even going to debate it.
Yeah, C-
underwhelming.
Yeah,
underwhelming.
It's not bad, but
he was always going to be a squire.
And the thing is as well,
did it in a bad way.
Is, let's face it, he hasn't been bashful about or his proclamations of having arrived and doing damage in the law. It's like
pipe down.
Well, I just what I mean. I think if you're gonna say and be as vocal as that, you're gonna have to back it up more. You don't see the other teams, with the exception of I suppose Ben and Steve, but sorry, Ben, Ed and Steve. Sorry.
Steve, yeah.
Generally, you keep your head down when you're not doing as well. But we'll see. C- I think's fair enough. Steve, I'm going to give him a C.
Yeah, I can
see. I think again he wasn't working with a whole lot, and he did about as well as could be expected. Ed,
it must be a fail grade. It's got to be.
Yeah, because I do feel like he needs another season again. He needs another go round. He needs to take that class again.
Yeah, he's got some resits in the summer.
But because he's showing glimmers of potential, it's not an out and out F. Definitely, I'm giving him a D. Maybe a D plus. You're going to summer school, Ed. You're going to have to work again, do this again.
You're not a thick though. You've
got. There's a glimmer of hope. You've got a shining light at the end of the tunnel that you can be chasing after. So, keep going.
Keep it going, son.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't do it again.
So that wraps up our kind of overview. We got into detail there.
Well, this, like I said, we got so much shit to talk about, and this is real.
So I suppose now we've got to just go through, well, moving forwards, who's dangerous in your opinion? Like next season, which are the teams that you're thinking, as defending champion, you're looking out for?
Well, obviously Graham's still there. We've mentioned it. His team is phenomenally good, and he's a good manager. He's always up and about. So you just can't count him out. Mm-hmm. Like he'll perpetually. I like that word. Perpetually. Be in contention and worth consideration.
Yeah.
I'll give myself a little pat on the back and say, hey up, tip of the cap. I'm still around. There's no reason why I can't have a good season that's upcoming. I had a good change report, man. It wasn't the best in the world, but it certainly wasn't the worst. Mm-hmm. Some key players went up, and Rory Howe got the double. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So I got 2010 in defence and a 23-12. Rashao and Petrelli stayed the same, so they're both 14 and 16 respectively. I got a solid team coming up. I've got to do a bit of work here and there in midfield and forward, but
I think you probably maybe midfielder, or there might be one signing, a little tweak.
I'm one or two signing, and tweaks away from.
But nothing major. I think you need to be kind of just holding tight and going for it again.
Yeah, and I think I'm just gonna straight away elect Muriel. Like we both said, we're I'm a little bit afraid of his team.
Do you think next season? I'm thinking maybe he's still one season
with less games on his hands, he's got the advantage of having some quick, sharp responses to fixtures and getting some quick early points, and that can really make a difference. The first, when you get a season where there's only like 14 games, first 5 are crucial. That's like a third of the season almost. Well,
true.
Yeah. And that's key.
Yeah.
So with an upcoming season like this, you want to make sure that your team is ready to go, not just form wise, but any transfers, in particular.
Yeah. No, you're very right. And that's something that I'm definitely going to adjust to, because we've had long seasons now for the last 5 or 6. Well, it's been at least 20 games. So it's going to be 18 games, 20 games. It's going to be an adjustment. And then, are you not giving Harsh any credit? Or is Harsh doubting his team? What's Harsh doing, to your knowledge?
Well, he's continually going to be a manager who's open to offers. He loves the transfer market deal. He likes the idea of improving and getting some favours in the Lords, which I neither condemn nor condone. But he's because of that kind of general attitude, I don't know how easy it would be to include him in a title race. He came out of nowhere. No one expected him to be up there in this season. And with a different style of season coming up, I don't think the short season will favour him.
Yeah. No. His form's going to be high.
He's not interested he's interested in creating, the Uber team.
Yeah, but his form's going to be high as a result. He's got the kind of younger players with us. Their form's still manageable and easy to keep it quite high. I don't know. I think if he doesn't do a sort of quite a severe gutting and sell a lot of those and bring another whole wave of view thing, I think he could be. He finished second last season, and he consistently, I think, overachieves. So
for better or for worse, I think that was a fortunate fluke for him. I don't think it would be consistent.
But see, I would agree with you, but if you look, season 22. Again, and bear in mind, his squad has always been. He still managed to come 6th, and again, that was with a much weaker squad. He had a really good change going into this last season. Season before that,
he was a squire,
but absolutely caned the squires.
But again, he did that. He tied points with a Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah.
He's not. No, he's been nowhere. He was the Knights. I don't remember the Knights watch. Fucking hell.
Yeah, that was just what horrific. That team got promoted. That team was in contention with me. The season that I was in the Squires, crazy. It felt like 7 and 8 skills. Bizarre. But we digress.
And back then, the Thousand Sons, was 7th in that.
Yeah, but he had like a load of 4, 5, and 6 skills back then.
True.
But all I'm saying, he's always overachieved with what he's had, Harsh. So I've got no reason to think he won't do it next season. What do you think's in store for Simon? I think that Simon's got an interesting team. Is that an interesting stage of his development with the Dicks?
Well, he seems to be again in this bandwagon of trying to gut the teams, and he of all those teams has got the most valuable. In terms of the players outgoing and bringing in Econ and then capitulating that with an even more monstrous signing, he's definitely able to make a quality team here. Whether we've seen in the past he's made some excellent transfer moves and he's a very good developer of players, that can't be argued. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know his plan. I backed him last season.
He's gutting his team, and his squad. Who were keepers for you?
Britain, Spinessa, Manhente, maybe Benitez, but you get some good money for Benitez. I don't really like Dermot Irons much. Kramer and Howell need to kind of stay. I might, with his forwards, I might sell both Benitez and Irons and just bring in one up, one down, one above, one 30-year-old and then a brand spanking new youth.
That would lead. He probably needs another midfielder as well. I don't think a 36-11 is going to cut it.
Together. No, not really, no. But, there is still a little bit of weakness in the Lords this season, so he could probably get away with it.
We'll see. But, I don't know, I'm predicting him to have a similar season, actually. Because I don't know if he's a lot to go down. Even if he does do a bit of gutting, I think there's still enough strength there, and those players are in their prime. They're going to be playing well above their skill.
His prime.
And if he surrounds them with the age that he's going to need to balance it for the youth he brings in, I think he's going to have a decent team.
I mean, if that was his intention of just doing a bit of a reshuffle, his prime econ magnet, it must be Bjorling. Getting rid of a 26-year-old who's a 13, that's some serious money.
26, 14 above it.
But you can keep him. You keep the better of the two.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
You sell Bjorling. You can maybe even consider selling Herriot or Andrews, but keep Dunstan. He's an 18-6 with Herring, that's awesome. Keep Britton, and then have a think about those three. Who are you going to get the most money off of, and then what do you do? If you get rid of Bjorling, do you bring in a new youth? If you get rid of both Bjorling and Herriot, kept Andrews for some future econ, maybe get another double out of him, and he's a 23-11, then he's worth talking about.
Yeah. Well, I think that 23-11 with those attributes, I'd probably be keeping him. Mm-hmm. If he's a 23-10, I think you sell that for about probably anywhere from 6 to 10 mil.
And then it just comes down to the skill of your transfer market ability.
Yeah. Well, I think I've got faith in some not to go down. So who is going down on the Lords then? So the 9 teams, it's going to be as competitive as ever. It's going to be absolutely brutal. Who's going down?
Well, I'd like to look at the season overview just so I can see those 9. Again, I almost can't say Larry because of what we know about him.
That's the thing. So if you say as a given Larry's staying up, that means you're telling me that what? Either Harsh, Pete, Muriel, Ben, or Simon are going down. Like 2 of those teams.
And that's assuming me, Graham, and Bilbo are not in.
Yeah, and that's 2 of those teams out of that group I just mentioned are going down. And that's the crazy thing. Even if you say Larry is a given for going down, again, one of those teams is going down that I just mentioned. That's why it's almost so difficult to predict, because not just the season's going to be 10 games less than what we had last. That division is going to be mental. It really is. There's no weak teams there. There's no one that anyone is looking at. I think it's all going to come down to matchups.
For sure. I mean, just at a glance, I'd probably say Ben, but he's got a good team. Maybe Dream Team, but he's got a much better team now that he's had his change report.
So Simon might
with that argument, you could very much contend that maybe propose that me, Norman, or Graham could be in that mix for sure.
What could quite easily happen, and this could happen to anyone in that league, no matter if you're favoured to win or favoured to go down. You start or well or badly, that's going to have a massive effect. If you for one of those say top teams that we talk about contention to win the Lords, you, Norman, and Graham. If one of you guys starts off and only gets 2 points from your first 4 games, suddenly, I mean, that's a massive.
The tide, completely changes.
I think So I don't know. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it. Do you have any idea when it's?
I haven't spoken to Graham. We had to ask him.
Yeah. I imagine. Hopefully, it's a little bit of time because I don't know. I need a break.
Graham, he'll always leave a week and a half, and he'll set a press a week and a half before the start of the season, and then have another week and a half.
Yeah, I could use 4 or 5 weeks to be honest. Man. I just need it's been such a grind, and as I said, when your team, when your team's not good, man, it seems to go a lot. I
think if we started it in 3 weeks' time from now. So in that time we'll get the Lords football game in, of which will be on the 18th of March. So I
would quite happily start 1st of April, that kind of time. Give it just a month. We finish end of Feb. Let's start 1st of April. Proper refresh it. It's going to be
March
awesome. March is just.
We take that off the calendar.
Just chill. We'll do our meet up and play our match, and we'll have a night out in March. But
more important to me is that we play a game, because this is what we're sort of about at the end of the day, isn't it? It's football, and we want to represent our teams.
I'm even more. Somehow, it's every single time we play, I turn up in worse shape than I did last time. I felt last time we played was the worst shape I've been in playing in one of those games. And this time,
the first game
we
played,
worse.
Not the one in the cage. The first game we played on a bigger pitch, we had our own pitch. That's still in my mind one of the best memories on Lord's games.
No, it was good.
Everyone was pretty.
Not last game, unfortunately, we were just a bit overmatched, weren't we? And especially in the second half.
We gave a lot of goals away, the Lords.
And as well, Nick Holloway just turning out to be like fucking Barthez and goal.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And then we got Harsh, who's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't even. The ball would come at like hand height, and he would like use
In
his
the
foot.
nicest possible way. Like again, don't get me wrong. I think the Squires on like in the field were the better team, but that had a massive impact on.
I mean, any
result.
shot on target.
But we
was
had,
essentially a
we
goal.
had Harsh and goal, and they had like a world class keeper. Like, he just made it a little.
Yeah, he was actually heroic. He made some
It
insane
was
saves.
unreal. But yeah, no, looking forward to
He saved a one-on-one with me. I got a ball through. I got a through ball. Took one touch, looked up, and he was closing me down. I banged it like round, and he fucking reached it.
Mate, I still have nightmares about that. But yeah, I'm trying to think. With Squires next season, who you think are going to make some noise in terms of coming up? You know, we talked about who might go down, and really you can't guess. But who's coming up?
He's coming up.
Because that is going to happen. 2 teams will come up.
Well, Biscuit's going to be in the mix for sure. He had an awesome season. Like again, he even said like himself, it was one of the most boring seasons for someone who lost and drew 4 games in total.
Yeah, it's a shame as well, because it does suck having a season like that. Cause it's not that interesting, but also knowing that it's for nothing, that you're not going up, it kind of a double whammy. But fair play, he's stuck with it. 6 goals conceded. Dick.
Yeah, and also, but now he's facing off against some.
Well,
So it's going to be a lot more of an even Squires this season.
well, it's going to be
As it will be the
it's going to be
Lords.
myself, Carl, Steve, Ed, Biscuit, Tristan, Luke, and Stroke City. So I don't know much about Stroke City.
They're pretty woeful. It's Steve's.
I think that's probably the favourite to go down to
Yeah.
what I think I like the Fools of the dance. I think that's what the 3rd division needs
I
to
think
be.
it seems most appropriate. You know, we don't want it to be like based upon just humour. It
Because
needs to be
you've-
something that fits within
You've
the.
got the Squires, and what do the
Lords,
Squires
Squires.
look down on? What you know?
You-
the way a Lord looks down on a Squire. I mean, a Squire is truly a second-class citizen to a Lord. So how can we make a second-class citizen to a Squire? I think it's got to be a fool.
an
or a
absolute-
peasant.
like, you got to be able to give someone a title which is fairly derogatory, but not really.
Yeah.
And fool works within the system of Lords, Squires, and fools.
Yeah, like the court fool. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're just an absolute
Well, like, yeah.
the Wally of
Well,
the
yeah,
court.
the Lord wants some entertainment for a little bit. You just
Bring in
can't.
the fool.
And we can talk about those at the end if you want. Just give a shout because we had a fair number of new teams in, but we'll get to those in a moment. But okay, so we talked about Stroke City might struggle.
It's hard for me
Luke's
to
a bit of
give
an
too
unknown.
much of a fuck, to be honest. Like
Luke's a bit of an unknown, but who's going up? So you think Biscuit? Who's the other two?
Biscuit maybe coming up. I don't know about Braves, probably not. I think you got a sincere chance of the laws that have just been, you know, that gaggle of Squires who are now to be. You're definitely on the top of the pile. Not in terms of just where you came in the season, but your team itself. Carl will have a bit of a. He'll knock at the door. Yeah, he's still got a good team.
I think he'll improve. I think he'll have a better season next season than he had this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, at least he should do.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Carl and Biscuit, the teams I'm looking at, I think Tristan may cause some problems, but historically he just hasn't.
He will live up
really-
to his name, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I don't know. I can see him coming like 3rd or 4th, that kind of range, but maybe not the top 2. Luke's a bit of an unknown, but I think his squad's still probably just a bit too green to compete with like the teams that we've mentioned so far. So, but I mean, did you want to just give a quick mention to the Fools then?
Yeah, why not?
Break it down.
Well, the thing is, we had the bottom 4 of the Squires this season, except the Real United, who
Oh, my
have been
bad.
around
Sorry,
for a while.
Window Lickers are going to be in that Squires group.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so my mistake. But yeah, so Phallus would be the top of that.
Who are the Phallus? I don't even know who they are anymore.
Had so much hope at one time, so much promise.
Yeah, those who regale the days of the Phallus, like winning the Squires first season and came up to the Lords, was kicking about, you
Like
know,
top
the top
3,
3,
yeah.
and now he's just wallowing.
Well,
Nonetheless, like
potentially he's good favourite to win that league though.
but
Be the best full, top
be
full.
the best fool, yeah, the Lord's fool.
Yeah.
But you know, there's also the Tree Beers, Pussy Patrol, Fritzl. This is Fritzl's first season, right?
Yeah.
So Fritzl, SC Holloway, King Curtis, and Ezami all came in, and they, to be fair, it's not that guidance hasn't overtly been given, but it's not been requested. Which generally, you want to get a bit of a finger on the pulse. It does require you just looking at some of the Lord's teams and thinking, well, how did they get to that point?
And we don't know how much they are doing that potentially. I mean, just because they're not that vocal in the WhatsApp group doesn't mean they're not paying attention to what the top teams are doing, and they've only had a season to do anything. So
a diabolical 5-month season.
Yeah, it must be again frustrating that that's your first thing. You're just waiting for a change report to actually be able to start to do stuff, and you had to wait for all that.
That was 6 years for us.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, FC Holloway. What they're saying? Who's in that?
It's not even worth looking at the team, mate. It's bottom of the barrel.
Okay, I'm not looking at. I'm just saying if there's one player in this division.
Yeah, Crystal Palace has got a player, Sammy Summer. Just went up to a 22-10. Pete should be guiding him a little bit more. We met the Fritzl Palace. He came play football with us the other day. He's an alright guy.
Okay, cool. Good player.
He's not a bad player. He's got good touch, good control. Listens to instruction. Yeah, a solid 7 out of 10.
Real United got a couple of players, but again, that team's another one where they seem to always have kind of strength, but don't actually do anything with it. King Kirk's.
I'll be quite straight with you. I'm bored already. I don't really want to look at any other things. I'm being deadly serious.
I just want to see if there's anything. I'm just going one homage, Ed's Army, just to finish off. Jesus.
Yodai got 17-6.
Yeah, that is probably just worth knowing.
I might just put an offer in.
Was he in there last season? 16-4.
Yeah, he doubled a 16-4.
Mate,
he came through the youth academy, Yoda. I remember.
Of course he fucking.
Yeah, Yoda.
But yeah, I think have you got any other final thoughts? I suppose just on what the season next going to look like, because it's going to be quite different.
Well, I've got some final thoughts as an Xpert manager overall. I fucking won the league, mate, and I'm dead chuffed about it. We spoke in our last podcast about the not just the magnitude of the season, but also what it meant for those who could win it, and the chance of a treble chance.
The other thing I wanted to say as well, which probably no one still have people thought about or not, but I did consider this. You've had also in terms of if you think about what's gone on for you in your personal life through the season, and all the distractions that you've had. You've been back and forth to America several times, obviously. With your dad and everything else. Yeah,
well, the trips from the USA they actually have a physical effect. I'm tired. The games are played at 12 in the afternoon. I need to wake up and set tactics.
You had an awful lot going on.
And like you said, my father passed away over Christmas.
And again, it didn't distract you. You always set your tactics. You won the league, and again, I think it's something to be said for that.
No, well, thanks, mate. I appreciate that, but for sure, it was. I had a bit of a tumultuous time over the change of the new year. But the one thing that kept me motivated through a lot of it was knowing that I had my mates around me, all of whom were connected, quite genuinely connected around the game, which I thoroughly enjoy and get a lot of pleasure out of. And yeah, it meant a lot to win the fucking Lords, mate. A virgin I may be, but I'm getting married. So
we're all virgins. Yeah, well, yeah. Hopefully the streak will end for you soon. But
hopefully I can put her to bed.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting if you do get married and then suddenly all of a sudden the burqa just start doing worse.
Well, I have some questions to answer.
There's clearly something.
She's fine with it. She's like,
you're like, look, we can't.
She was actually happy that I won the league. She's like, well, good for you.
So does she know that? You basically not going to be able to have sex because you need to make sure you're doing one yours.
I just do it at night.
You're like, not tonight, love. I've got a big game tomorrow.
Well, the beauty that is Xpert 11 has yet again come around for me and has allowed me to enjoy life a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next season, man. I must say that. I said at the start of this season, I feel like we're ready for a little change in dynamic.
I want to win. I want to win again. I want to set myself up for a treble. For the fucking triple, mate.
But you need to, because Petrelli's on his way out. He's going to... I said 34...
I knew this would come up.
The decline...
Of course it came up.
Well, no, I'm amazed that you haven't fucking... We talked for fucking an hour and you haven't mentioned him. It's got to be some kind of record. Someone can check that, please, on the group. But, yeah, I think... 34, trust me, that's the age you're going to start. You saw he had, 13, 14 DV.
He had 13
did
DV.
0%.
0%.
This is the start of the end. He can't go up anymore, he can only go down. You're not going to get him to 10 DV this season. And even if you do get to 10 DV, he's still going to go down.
If I get into 10, he'll have a negative change, but I reckon he'll stay. He's been a 16 for the last 5 seasons now. He's a god. He's
I
a fucking
guarantee
god.
if he doesn't retire, and that could always happen.
That's
as well.
not going to happen.
If he doesn't retire, he'll be
Judah
down
is still hasn't announced, and he's 37.
Yeah, but Judah's just his own.
Oh, now Judah's different.
I don't know if Petrelli's the best player the Lords has ever seen. Don't get me wrong. In terms of accolades, stats, skill, everything,
Goals,
attributes. But I think Ajuda, I still maintain, is probably one of the most acclaimed player. I think Ajuda, in terms of longevity, he maintained a standard of excellence for a longer time than Petrelli did, or has.
Are we comparing this to like Ronaldo, Messi, sort of thing?
I don't know how you compare, but I just think there's something to be said. I think if you had to pick one of the players, you'd take Petrelli every day. But in terms of what he meant to a team over such a long period of time, I think there's got to be an argument made for him. And he's 38, he's on his way out. And as I said, when he started hitting 34, that's when I see the decline in him. Petrelli is declining from a much greater height. So I think he's still going to be, the worst he's going to get to is like a 14 skill. But I think he'll be a 14 skill in 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
3 seasons he'll definitely be a 14 skill, maybe 2.
I reckon if anything, he'll, before retirement and hanging up his boots, he'll probably drop to a 14 skill lower. He may be a 13 skill if he goes for another 3 seasons, but I can guarantee you now that he will play every season that he doesn't hang up his boots, and even in retirement, he will get played. Whether it's just like a little cameo at the end of the season, just for old time's sake, and it will be a very sad day. Like, I won't be consoled much.
I mean,
but I won't even think about it. We got 3 seasons ahead of us before he even thinks about it.
Well,
if he gets to 40, I'll be well happy. Imagine if he got to 40.
But the season's getting shorter. In real time, it's going to be less. It's going to happen.
Just around the corner.
Right. He might not be a year from now. He might not be about.
Well, I know you're the one who carries the flag of Petrelli's downfall. Because it's something to talk about.
I carry it with a big fucking army behind me. I'm not alone.
Yeah, he is a one. He's him against the world. To be fair.
Do you reckon he'll get appreciated more like once he's retired, and it's kind of we're looking back? We'll
of all the players that have retired, I don't think he'll be the one forgotten. There's many. Both of us have had players retire. Even me, who when I went through a stage of I won the double, was on the cusp of a triple. Can you name any of those? Can you name one of those midfielders who did it for me?
If you said their names, I'd recognise them.
Exactly, like Douglas Slater,
yes,
Kit Spearing,
yes,
Hank Moody,
yes.
But now you can think of them, right? Yeah. But I don't think Petrelli will ever be.
I've thought this as well, and I don't know how we can integrate this, but I feel like actually one area that we can make the Lords more exciting and more engaging for everyone is to have more emphasis on the players. I think to have more kind of, I think the players often get overlooked. We always talk about the managers, but actually what are the players doing? I think it'd be kind of cool. It's just an idea popped into my head that maybe one podcast we could do like a greatest players kind of edition.
What, the Lord's greatest 11?
And well, maybe we could capitulate. That would be the theme of the show, and we'd obviously have to discuss who our best 4 defenders of all time, our best 4 midfielders of all time, best 2 forwards of all time,
best keeper.
Yeah, that's a tough. Proctor, we all talked about him for such a long time. Rashal.
You get it. Proctor's probably a name that won't go away very quickly.
But again, the thing with Proctor, longevity. He was around. He was good for a long time.
And Rashal's only been around 7 seasons. And people, you said that Erez Rashal, so maybe 3/4 of the Lords. They won't know who you're talking about. For those who don't, he is my keeper.
I think now you've won the league, I think there's a much bigger target on your back now. I think people will start to pay attention more. I know fucking Erez Rashal, so if you don't, you need to pay attention because he is a ridiculous player that's probably worth man marking.
Go ahead, Peter
Potentially.
That's the thing. There's so many.
If Petrelli's injured, I don't know. That's the thing, man. But so for me, I'm laying low. I'm going to concentrate on development. I've got a lot of views that I'm trying to. I only got 1 double this change of port, so I need to make sure next season is better. So actually, I think
those are my final thoughts on the whole thing. Is I'm very happy with the season. Not only just professional. Well, I say professional. Xpert 11 career based.
Yeah, have you got paid for this shit? Man?
Yeah, right.
The easiest job in the world. Literally 10 minutes a day. You just walk up, do.
Gets real time sponsors.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
But nonetheless, with that in mind, I think I had I enjoyed the season. Just as a member of it, I enjoyed the season. I take everything into account there. There was a lot of great rivals. The season lived up to the hype. I was pleased with the way it went.
Well,
despite a new title of maybe it's the virgins of the dance. But
I don't know. I think Fool has. I think there's a certain amount of Fool.
It's up for discussion, I'm sure. A new thread will take place soon.
There's so much has been discussed today. I think we said we had to give it a proper good go, and I think we have.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be amazed if anyone's listened all the way through. Genuinely shocked.
That's it. Well, with that in mind, I'd like to thank anyone who did listen to this far, and I hope you enjoyed the cast and know that.
Sorry for wasting an hour and a half of your life.
And hopefully you'll be back for the next instalment.
Yeah, take care.
Peace.